Resilient ownership, the practical philosophy of habits, grit, and empowered leadership. Chapter 3. Intrinsic drive, autonomy, mastery, and purpose. In the philosophy of resilient ownership, motivation is not something leaders manufacture through external rewards, threats, or clever incentives. It is something they unlock by aligning work with the innate human drives for autonomy, mastery, and purpose. This intrinsic drive forms the energetic core of the entire system. Without it, atomic habits become mechanical routines lacking vitality. The growth mindset remains an intellectual exercise without passion. Extreme ownership turns into burdensome duty, and grit collapses into joyless grinding. When properly cultivated, however, intrinsic drive transforms effort into engagement, discipline into fulfillment, and individual contribution into collective momentum. It supplies the sustainable fuel that makes resilient ownership not only effective, but deeply human and rewarding. Traditional motivation 2.0, the carrot and stick model dominant in many organizations, relies on external controls: bonuses for hitting targets, penalties for missing them, close supervision to ensure compliance. Decades of behavioral science demonstrate that while this approach can work for simple, rule-based, routine tasks, it often backfires in the complex, creative, and adaptive work that defines modern leadership and team performance. External rewards can crowd out internal interest, reduce creativity, encourage short-term thinking, and erode long-term commitment. Once the reward is removed or the threat subsides, engagement frequently drops. Resilient ownership rejects this outdated operating system in favor of Motivation 3.0, built squarely on the three pillars identified through rigorous psychological research: autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Autonomy is the desire to direct one's own life and work. It is not anarchy or complete independence. It is the experience of acting with genuine choice. Leaders who grant autonomy over task, what people work on, time, when they do it, technique, how they do it, and team, whom they do it with, tap into a powerful internal engine. When individuals feel they have meaningful control, they take greater responsibility for outcomes. This directly reinforces extreme ownership. People who choose their approach are far more likely to own the results, rather than blame external factors or processes imposed from above. Autonomy also makes atomic habits more sustainable. When people design elements of their own daily systems, choosing the exact cue, reward, or stacking method that fits their rhythm, adherence rises because the habits feel self-authored rather than dictated. In team settings, autonomy over aspects of work reduces the 5 dysfunctions by increasing buy-in and decreasing passive resistance or hidden conflict. Autonomy does not stand alone. It gains depth and direction when paired with the growth mindset foundation. A person who believes abilities expand through effort is more willing to exercise autonomy because they trust that their choices and experiments will lead to genuine improvement rather than random failure. Fixed mindset individuals, by contrast, often fear autonomy. Greater freedom simply exposes their perceived permanent limitations. In resilient ownership, leaders therefore cultivate both simultaneously. They communicate that abilities are malleable while progressively expanding the sphere of choice available to team members. This combination turns autonomy from potential chaos into directed self-determination. Mastery is the urge to get better and better at something that matters. It is the drive to close the gap between current capability and potential through deliberate practice, immediate feedback, and progressively challenging Goldilocks tasks. Those that are neither too easy, causing boredom, nor impossibly hard, causing anxiety. Mastery is inherently satisfying because the pursuit itself becomes rewarding. The sensation of improving provides its own dopamine. This pillar integrates seamlessly with atomic habits. Small daily behaviors compound into noticeable skill gains, making the path to mastery visible and motivating. Each 1% improvement is not merely incremental, it is evidence that deliberate practice is working, reinforcing the identity of someone who is continually developing. Mastery also sustains grit. Passion without the pursuit of mastery is fleeting enthusiasm. Perseverance without visible progress toward competence becomes exhausting. When people experience steady advancement in skills that matter, they are far more willing to endure the plateaus and setbacks that define long-term endeavors. Research shows that growth mindset and grit are mutually reinforcing. Believing abilities can expand encourages the sustained effort that builds grit, while gritty perseverance provides the repetitions necessary for mastery. In leadership practice, this means designing roles and projects that stretch people just beyond their current level, while providing clear metrics and rapid feedback loops. Leaders who obsess over mastery create environments where learning is continuous, mistakes are mined for insight, and competence becomes a source of genuine confidence rather than fragile ego. The third pillar, purpose, supplies the why that elevates autonomy and mastery from self-focused pursuits to contributions larger than the self. Purpose is the yearning to do work in service of something enduring, a mission, a cause, a set of values, or the well-being of others. When individuals understand how their daily efforts connect to a meaningful whole, motivation becomes renewable. Profit or personal advancement alone rarely sustains deep engagement over time. Purpose does. It transforms routine tasks into meaningful contributions and difficult challenges into worthwhile sacrifices. Purpose integrates with every other element of resilient ownership. It gives direction to autonomy. Choice is exercised not arbitrarily, but in alignment with a larger objective. It fuels mastery by making the hard work of improvement feel significant rather than pointless. It amplifies extreme ownership, because when the mission matters, leaders and teams naturally take fuller responsibility for outcomes. It grounds genuine influence and radical candor. Feedback lands more constructively when everyone shares a clear sense of what success for the collective looks like. In team cohesion, shared purpose dissolves many of the 5 dysfunctions by creating alignment that makes trust, commitment, and accountability feel natural rather than enforced. In the hedgehog concept of disciplined greatness, purpose is one of the 3 intersecting circles. It overlaps with what drives results and what the organization can be best at. When leaders articulate and repeatedly reinforce a compelling purpose, using we language that emphasizes collective contribution, they create the conditions for level 5 leadership to emerge, humble, yet fiercely resolved individuals who subordinate ego to the mission. Purpose also makes the coaching habit profoundly effective. Powerful questions such as, how does this connect to our larger goal? Or, what would meaningful progress look like here? Activate intrinsic drive by helping people reconnect their immediate actions to something bigger. The 3 elements are not independent. They form a mutually reinforcing system. Autonomy without mastery can lead to aimless exploration. Mastery without autonomy feels like forced drill. Both without purpose can become self-absorbed or ultimately hollow. When aligned, however, they generate a powerful flywheel. Greater autonomy encourages experimentation that accelerates mastery. Visible progress in mastery strengthens the desire for more autonomy. A vivid purpose makes both feel worthwhile, deepening engagement and resilience. This flywheel explains why intrinsic drive produces higher performance, greater creativity, lower burnout, and stronger well-being compared to external motivators. In practical application within resilient ownership, leaders begin by diagnosing the current motivational environment. Where are external controls crowding out internal drive? Where is autonomy overly restricted, mastery unsupported by feedback or challenge, or purpose vague or profit-centric? Interventions follow the 3 pillars. For autonomy, leaders experiment with results-only work environments, flexible scheduling where feasible, choice in techniques, and opportunities for individuals to assemble ad hoc teams for specific initiatives. For mastery, they introduce deliberate practice protocols, regular feedback sessions, and carefully calibrated stretch assignments. For purpose, they translate organizational mission into vivid, everyday language, celebrate contributions to the larger cause, and ensure that profit serves purpose rather than the reverse. These practices must be supported by the other chapters. Atomic habits provide the daily mechanisms that make autonomy executable and mastery measurable. The growth mindset ensures that challenges in pursuit of mastery are viewed as expandable opportunities rather than threats to self-worth. Extreme ownership guarantees that autonomy does not become diffusion of responsibility. Grit supplies the perseverance needed when mastery plateaus or purpose is tested by setbacks. Radical candor and the coaching habit deliver the honest feedback and empowering questions that keep the drive aligned and growing. Team cohesion emerges when shared purpose and mutual support replace the 5 dysfunctions. Leaders who embrace this intrinsic drive model discover a profound shift. Motivation stops being a constant managerial struggle and becomes largely self-sustaining. Teams exhibit higher engagement because they are working with, rather than against, fundamental human psychology. Positivity becomes authentic and resilient. It arises from the satisfaction of autonomous choice, the pride of advancing mastery, and the meaning of purposeful contribution. Setbacks are met with renewed determination rather than disillusionment because the drive is internal and renewable. This chapter reveals that resilient ownership is not a philosophy of harsh discipline or relentless hustle detached from human needs. It is a system that honors what truly energizes people while demanding high standards of accountability and growth. By designing environments around autonomy, mastery, and purpose, leaders create the conditions where individuals and teams naturally bring their best selves forward. The result is not fleeting inspiration, but durable motivation that compounds over time. The same compounding that atomic habits make visible and the growth mindset makes believable. Intrinsic drive is therefore the energetic heart of the philosophy. It converts the structural architecture of habits, the foundational belief of the growth mindset, and the rigorous accountability of ownership into lived experience that feels meaningful and energizing. When leaders master the art of unlocking these 3 elements, they stop pushing people and start unleashing them. The entire system begins to run on internal power rather than external pressure, producing the grounded, realistic positivity that comes from knowing one is growing, contributing, and choosing freely in pursuit of what matters. The chapters that follow show how this intrinsic drive expresses itself through disciplined action, cohesive teams, candid communication, and empowering leadership. Together, they form a complete operating system for human potential, one that rejects hype in favor of science, slogans in favor of systems, and short-term compliance in favor of long-term excellence. In resilient ownership, motivation is not managed, it is liberated.